The following video contains spoilers for Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon Season 1, 2, 3, and 4, and potentially the light novel. You have been warned. Greetings, ladies and gents of the courtroom. It is I, your Honorable Judge Scythe Jackal, and we got another short anime review today. Well, not short anime, but quick anime review. Unscripted, as usual. But today we're doing the part 1 of the 4th season of Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? One of my favorite anime of all time, and a season that I've been looking forward to a lot. So, last night I binged the last 4 episodes because I'd been looking forward to this series this season for a long time, but I never got around to completely watching it because I was busy with other stuff going on and I just didn't have time to. But today I'm here to review it because I finally finished it. And I'm going to give my thoughts on it, maybe what's going to happen in the future, and let's get into it. Okay, so before we do, I want to give my background with Danmachi, which is what we're going to call it for a majority of this video because it's shorter and because it's more convenient. All right, Danmachi. So I first discovered Danmachi when I used to watch, when I was younger. I saw these corname intros. Have you heard of those? That they're these little videos of anime music with a bunch of clips of anime together. They're actually pretty cool. I was younger though, and I saw Danmachi in one of them. It said Danmachi, and it's that clip from opening 1. It's with Belle and Hestia brushing their teeth. Keep in mind this was back in 2018, I believe. So this was before 2018, 2019. I don't know about 2019, but this was before season 2 even came out for Danmachi. So it was on that long hiatus. But then I discovered it there and I was like, that looks interesting. Then I looked into it a little more. I looked it up on a streaming service later on at some point. And I saw the title, Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? And I was like, what? I started a bit of the first episode, but then I just stopped because I was younger and I feel like it's better that I didn't watch it back then. But then I think I heard more about how it continued on and I was interested in watching it. So I decided to look into it. And in 2021, it was early 2021. I think it was late spring. So it was May or summer. No, I'm pretty sure it was May. Yeah, it had to have been May. But I watched the show. I kind of binged it, but I didn't really binge it in a row. It's not like I didn't go to sleep or didn't do other things. I watched the first season on Netflix. I watched the second season on Hulu, and I watched the third season somewhere else, because I really wanted to watch the dub, because I think the dub of Danmachi is really good. And ever since then, I was waiting for the 4th season. And I also wrote Demigods, which is one of my most successful stories on ff.net. So that's nice. But anyways, it was just such an amazing series. I fell in love with it. I loved the premise. I loved the characters. Belle Cornell, one of my favorite protagonists ever. I loved Welf, Hestia, Lily, Haruhime, Mikoto. Every single character was great. I loved the fight scenes. Those were epic. I loved how Belle overcame multiple things. And so let's get into season 4. So season 4, part 1 is based on volumes 12 and 13 of the Danmachi light novel, which is what it originated as. And it basically is about how Belle forms a party to go on an expedition or is it a quest? I'm not sure. But he forms a party with not only his familia, but also Cassandra, Daphne, Aisha of the Hermes familia. That's where she is now, right? Yeah. And Chigusa and Uka of the Taka Mizichi. I'm butchering that name, but Mikoto's original familia. And they do it because they're issued a letter from the Adventurers Guild to do so. And later on, it's going well. Their character development is great so far. I really like how they brought Chigusa and Uka back. Cassandra was also a great inclusion, I think. Really liked it. The fight scenes were really good. Sound effects clean as ever. The opening is pretty good. I think like the opening of Danmachi season 4 part 1, I think it's good, but I just don't think it's as good as the other 3 openings. The other 3 openings were just spectacular, but this one's just good. But that's fine. It's going well, and then they encounter a monster called Moss Huge, which is like this mossy monster that kills adventurers and devours crystals. Not crystals, which are like, and it makes him stronger and more powerful. And they struggle to defeat it, and then he shoots seeds out at some of the party members, which infect them and can cause them to die, which causes roots to grow in their body, and they start to die. And the only way to make it stop is to kill it. So Bell gets separated from the rest of the party at some point. He gets separated, and he falls, and then he meets a Xenos mermaid called Marine, and she basically helps him, and she knows who the other Xenos are, and like I said, she helps him defeat the Monster Age, but also helps him with the Juggernaut battle, which we'll get to in a sec. But yeah, and it goes well, he's victorious, he beats it by absorbing like Firebolt, which is one of his abilities, into the Hestia knife, and he just kills it. And that goes really well. And then they find a safe spot, which is like the one they found in the first season. And then they find out that someone is murdered overnight, and it's suspected to be Ryu Lion, who is one of the main characters. And they go on a hunt to try and kill her because she has a bounty for her. And Bell wants to prove her innocent because he doesn't believe that she killed the person. And then later on, they're going down. Cassandra, who can like see into the future, kind of foresight, predicts something horrible is going to happen, like everyone's going to die, something's going to kill them all. So she's just not confident about this at all. But like they go into the dungeon, they explore. Bell finds Ryu. It turns out like she didn't kill the person back there. It was, or maybe she did, I'm not sure. But she's killing people who are associated with Evilos, who is like the evil group of Danmachi. But because they killed okay, sorry. This is so hard to do unscripted. Not really. Okay. But then later on we find out that Ryu killed members of her familia. We don't know exactly I don't know the details yet, but I probably will, because I might read volume 14 of the light novel. But we find that out, and then we find Luna, who tricks Bell into thinking that Ryu hurt him when he set off a bomb and killed the rest of his comrades and made himself look injured. And then we find out he is a monster tamer, and that he tames this giant snake monster who is from the deep levels, which are like let's just say they have a lot of powerful monsters there. And he finds a way to tame it using a magic item. And at another point, so does a different character, like one of the characters that betrays the rest of the party, in which they fight another snake monster. And they win that one, and Bell and Ryu manage to defeat the snake monster. Keyword there's defeat, but apparently it was just a distraction because the rest of Luna's gang put bombs at a huge lower level of the dungeon, and then they set it all off, and apparently when the dungeon takes so much damage it can't regenerate, so it sends something after it to kill adventurers. And that's where we get into the Juggernaut, which is one of the things, which was something that came out 5 years ago in the dungeon and killed a bunch of people, and something that traumatized Ryu. I really liked we'll get into that after. And then it just kills almost everybody, pretty much. It's destroying everyone. It's so powerful, like they can't even breach it. It just cuts everyone up. And Luna wants to control it, so Bell and Ryu fight the monster, and it's not going so well. They're not really able to damage it. Then the monster cuts off Bell's arm swiftly, and he falls into a river nearby. He's attacked into a river. He almost dies, but he doesn't. And then Ryu is left to fight it alone, and she's not doing so well during that fight. And yeah. And then Bell, thanks to Marie, she heals him, not only healing his wounds, but giving him his knife and making him stronger. Well, not stronger, but it heals him. And so he gets back up from the water and he fights it again. Unfortunately, even though he's doing really well, he still doesn't win because of how powerful it is. And both he and Ryu are injured. And then Luna uses the magic item to control the Juggernaut, and then you'd expect Luna to have it, right? 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 Nope. He gets cut off. The monster just straight up kills him. And remember how I said the snake from before was defeated? Well, yes, for the most part, because the snake is alive. It tries to eat Ryu and Bell. They're inside of it, and it digs underground into the dungeon with the Juggernaut following. And then, at some point, the snake falls into a deep level, and Bell and Ryu escape. Super injured and very helpless. And, like, they're just, like, not strong. They're just, like, almost dead. Very weak. And Bell finds out that they're in the White Palace, which is the deep levels, which is, like I said before, very dangerous, very powerful monsters, and they're also helpless. They're, like, injured. They've got nobody. So, like, what happens? And then for the rest of the party, they fight a floor boss spawns, which is like a two-headed ice dragon thing. And then it leaves off from there. That's part one. That's a summary of part one. I'm going to give my review. I think the fight scenes were awesome. Not nearly as good as Bell versus the Minotaur. And I think, like, the first floor boss in the season 1 was good. The fight against the Artemis Familia was good. I thought, like, I don't know, Don Moshi just has a really good track record of fight scenes. And I think this season definitely shows that. I thought the fight between Bell and the Moss Huge was good. It was nice to have focus on other characters who weren't as prominent in other seasons of Danmachi. Like, for example, Uka, Chigusa, because I don't think we had seen them until season 2. And, like, Cassandra and Daphne were great character choices to bring back. Aisha, obviously, she's awesome. And I liked that. I liked how it was more dungeon-focused story compared to other storylines. I liked the new monsters they introduced, like the Moss Huge. That thing looked awesome. I liked the character development. I liked the plot lines. I thought the Juggernaut, I liked the lead up to the Juggernaut, like how everyone was just so terrified of it. I thought that was awesome. And I loved the design of the monster itself. I think that I liked how it ended on a dark tone. Like, it's like dark, like now it's dark because they're in the deep levels. They're desperate. They're helpless. They're injured. So that's awesome. And I'm betting that season 4 part 2 is going to be based on volume 14 of the light novel. So I might read that before the season comes out, which before part 2 comes out, which is next year in January. And that's okay. I also really liked how Ryu was in it more. I thought Ryu was a really awesome character. And I think, as somebody who read volume 12 of the light novel, I didn't read volume 13. I have it, but I didn't read it. I thought that they did a very good job with the adaptation. So, yeah, that's just my kind of quick, unscripted review of Danmachi Season 4, Part 1. I'm really looking forward to Part 2. I'm really hoping it's good, and I really hope, and I'm really glad I enjoyed this season because I waited, and it was perfect. It was just what I expected. It defied my expectations. So, yeah. Have a good day, everyone. Scythe Jackal, not out. I just want to say that Danmachi is one of my favorite anime of all time, so I hope to see it continue to be good. So, yeah. Have a good day. Scythe Jackal, out.